Good afternoon for everybody. So welcome to this class. As usually on Sundays, we have devoted our time to present the meditation mindfulness of breathing. So the presentation will be as the last time. So then those who have already seen this presentation, they can skip it and they can join 1 hour later. So those who are new, of course, they will benefit to watch it from the beginning till the end, because it's a visual way. It's a visual way how to also to follow the steps, the way the Buddha taught it in order to practice Ānāpānasati. So then, therefore, after 1 hour the presentation, we are going to start the practice. We allow you about 5 minutes before the practice to ask any questions. So then, for the time being, we are actually presenting the same as called presentation as we did last time, because it's just for those who want to refresh their knowledge, to remember the steps they should follow. So it is a way to for a clarification, what are the steps to be followed. So now regarding this mindfulness of breathing, which is called Ānāpānasati, this is the meditation which the Buddha practice before his enlightenment. He actually used this meditation as a basis for vipassana meditation after he attained a high degree of concentration with Ānāpānasati. So he practiced vipassana, by which he attained enlightenment. He praised this meditation several times in his discourses. So, and then he also recommended in many of his disciples. So here we have, for example, one sutta where he speaks about this kind of meditation. He says, this concentration, samadhi, through mindfulness of breathing, when developed and practiced much, is both peaceful and sublime. It is an unadulterated blissful abiding, and it banishes and steals evil, unwholesome thoughts as soon as they arise. Therefore, now the Buddha speaks about the samadhi, the concentration. We must understand that it's a kind of practice of concentration, focusing the mind on the breath, and the aim is to attain samadhi, concentration. So then once the mind gets concentrated, these are the peaceful and sublime states which can arise in the mind. If our mind is scattered, dispersed, fragmented from object to object, there is no peace. So, but once the mind gets concentrated, then one can experience this peace which is sublime. So then, therefore now the Buddha speaks about how to train this mind, which is very, very flickering and start unsteady. And he says, this flickering, unsteady mind, difficult to guard, difficult to tame, the wise person strengthens it as a fletcher strengthens an arrow. So therefore now this samadhi, this concentration, is to strengthen the mind, to put in a certain object, so like in mindfulness of breathing, and to strengthen it. Because our mind, as called, is not straight. It jumps from object to object. It does not go straight. In order to strengthen it, so this is how to practice this kind of meditation. What the Buddha says here, for example, is like a fletcher strengthens an arrow. So this is how to tame the mind, to guard the mind through meditation. And he says, a tamed mind brings happiness. So therefore now our mind, which is so much fragmented, as called, it is deprived of this peace. It's deprived of this kind of the strengthness. So therefore, with concentration, samadhi helps to unify the mind. And this is called the oneness of the mind, or unpointedness of the mind. Means the unity of the mind, or it's called in an object. And we know that unity, oneness is strength. So this is what the Buddha tells, citta se ekagata. Eka means one, aga means point, to bring the mind in one point. That is a quality of samadhi. So in order to explain how to practice this kind of meditation to get samadhi, so the Buddha explains how to sit, how to observe the breath. So therefore, in his discourses, give plenty of details and steps how to achieve this kind of samadhi. So first, he will explain the sitting position. So therefore, the Buddha says, sitting down, folding the legs crosswise, setting the body erect. Here they are called the things which a meditator should take notice. So after sitting down, so you can fold the legs and sit crosswise. I will explain also if that is difficult, we can adopt other positions. But main thing is the third point here, which the Buddha says, setting the body erect. So then one should not lie down while practicing this. That's called try to keep the body erect. Afterwards, of course, if one wants in his leisure time, while lying down or sitting in another position, he can watch the breath. But to attain a high degree of samadhi, concentration, setting the body erect is very important. This is the Pāli text for those who have the reference, so who can understand Pāli. Now, this is what the Buddha speaks here about this full lotus position. So, this is the position which those days the Buddha and his disciples would adopt in order to have a very steady posture, as called, and to concentrate the mind. Other options are the half lotus position. Here we see that only the one heel is on the thigh, while here they are both heels are on the thigh in this full lotus position. So the difference between the two, it is that here we have only one heel on the thigh. Another option is the Burmese style, which is both heels are on the ground and are a little bit far from the body. This also, it is a possibility. Some meditators find it easy. So especially if your knees are paining, that is one way how to sit. So then, but main thing, it is to keep the, we can sit in a half cushion. For example, here it's called, but main thing is to strengthen your back. So here it is very important to keep the back straight. So then, and you can place your arms and legs comfortably. So you may put either your left or right leg in the front, as it is comfortable for you. You can also put some small cushions under the knees if it is if it is difficult for you. So then other ways to place your arms and palms is this way or this way. So then because the whole attention, it is on the breath. So the body, it is irrelevant. It's called, we put the hands in such a way you don't feel the weight of them. You just put them down and it's called not to feel the weight. So that is why, therefore, in this case, the hands have played no much role. So then these are this unnecessary hand position called mudras. So in this kind of meditation, it is relevant. So because all the concentration goes on the breath, and after some time, the meditator loses the perception of the body, and this kind of hand positions have no meaning. So therefore, it is up to you. If you like to adopt them, it is up to you, but are not necessary. So then other ways to sit on, it is to sit on the ground and put on a stool. So, or on a scissor, it's called a big cushion, or on a chair. But in 3 cases here, you can see that the spine is erect. This is very important. So then, and the head is in such a way so that the nose is parallel to the ground. So this is not a suitable posture. So then now, after the Buddha explaining the suitable posture, how to sit, so now he's going to explain where to observe the breath, how to practice, it's called the mindfulness of breathing. So now this mindfulness of breathing, in this context, he explains it as serenity meditation. samatha meditation. In other contexts, he explains it as vipassana meditation. So today we are going to explain the mindfulness of breathing as serenity meditation. So then, first of all, he is going to explain the place of observing the breath, because we must know where to put our attention to observe the breath. He says, establishing mindfulness at Parimukha. Here, to establish mindfulness, he says the place. The place is Parimukha. It is around or near the face or the mouth. So here, the word mukha means actually face. Sometimes it can mouth also. Pari means around or near something. So therefore, it is around this area which the arrows show. You can see in this picture, the arrows. They show either in the tip of the nose or in the upper lip. That is the area why it's called what the Buddha recommends. The reason is that some people who have short nose, they can feel the air on the upper lip. So, but those who have normal nose, they can feel it at the nose tip, in the nostrils. So therefore, the Buddha did not specify at the nose tip, because those who have short nose, they might not be able to feel the breath. So, but he includes both categories of people, those who have short nose and those who have normal nose. That, hence he used the word parimukha, so that it includes both categories of people. So therefore now the whole attention has to be done, as called around the nose or around on the upper lip. Now, in order to understand this meaning, we have from the canonical books which explain this meaning. Now, here there is a canonical book which says, this mindfulness is well established at the nose tip or at the mark of the mouth, which means the upper lip. So this is how that's called a canonical book explains this. It says also, hence it is said establishing mindfulness at Parimukha. The canonical book is Vibhanga Pāli, Jana Vibhango, here for those who want to check it. So therefore now this is the area of placing the mindfulness on the nose tip, at the nose tip or at the mark of the mouth, which is the upper lip. So then, and there is another canonical book which explains something similar. This says, in this way, he sits down by establishing mindfulness at the nose tip or at the mark of the mouth, the upper lip. This book also gives an additional information saying that he does not give attention to the in-breaths coming inside the body or to the out-breaths going outside the body. So then here this book is very specific that one should not give attention to the breaths going inside the body, either to the pharynx or to the lungs or to the belly, or outside the body. So all the attention is where it is around the nose or in the upper lip. So the reason is that if one follows the inhaling air inside the body as it travels in different bodily parts, one will then be practicing elements meditation, which is called Dhatu Manasikara, in regard to the air element, Vayu Dhatu, but not mindfulness of breathing. Even so, by meditating on the air element only, one doesn't even practice elements meditation fully, because it is required to also meditate on the other three elements, solid, liquid, heat element, and to see their correlation. Therefore, it can't be said that one either practices mindfulness of breathing correctly or elements meditation correctly if one follows the breaths inside the body. So therefore now the Buddha is very clear where to put the breath, the attention. Hence the Buddha advises in regard to mindfulness of breathing, let your mindfulness of breathing be well established in one's person at Parimukha. We have explained Parimukha at the nose of the tip or the upper lip. So when mindfulness of breathing is well established in one's person at Parimukha, any inclinations for outward and vexing thoughts cease to exist. So therefore, the Buddha was very specific, where the attention of our mindfulness should be in parimukha. But he used a verb which is called establish. Now, the verb establish indicates the placing and fixing of one's mindfulness at parimukha, implying thus of not moving it hither and thither or onwards and backwards to any other place. The opposite of establish is disestablish, displace, change, move, remove, etc., which is not the case in Ānāpānasati samadhi. Therefore, you establish your mindfulness at the tip of your nose, where the air strikes the nostrils, or at the upper lip. In case some people have short nose, they can feel it on the upper lip. So it depends where you feel it. That's called, there you establish. Most of the people that have normal nose, they can usually feel it in the tip of the nose. And then you observe the natural flow of your in-breath and out-breath at the nostrils or at the upper lip. So for the in-breath and for the out-breath. So you can actually see the natural flow, because with this meditation, we don't try to make a breathing exercise. It's not a breathing exercise like gymming. You go to the gym and you have to inhale deep, artificially, to have to inhale deeply and so forth. So this is not the case. We just observe the natural flow of the breath, and we try to develop our mindfulness, our concentration on the natural rhythm of the breath. So do not give attention to the in-breaths going inside the body. So these places you just ignore. You don't need to give attention to the in-breaths going inside the body or to the out-breaths going outside the body. So now the Buddha says the first step how to to observe the breath. After he told how to put our attention, our mindfulness, how to establish our mindfulness, he says how to observe the breath. And he explains, ever mindful, one breathes in, ever mindful, one breathes out. So therefore, for each in-breath, you must be mindful. For each out-breath, you should be mindful. So this is the Pāli text for those who want to check the Pāli. So therefore, you also ever mindful breathe in and ever mindful breathe out. Do so for about 5 minutes to be familiar with the breath. Therefore, now for each in-breath, you mental note in-breath. For each out-breath, you mental note out-breath. When you feel the breath, so you mental note in-breath. When you feel the breath, out-breath, you mental note out-breath. These words are initially very important to use them. So in order to direct the mind towards the object, otherwise the mind does not know what to do. You have to remind the mind, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, mentally do so. So in order for the mind to know what it has to do. If you don't use these words, sometimes the mind wanders, goes away, and daydreams and so forth. So in order to bring the mind towards the breath, you can use these words, in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, when you feel the breath. So this is how you become mindful with the in-breath and out-breath. So do not use your eyes to pay attention to the breath. So because there is nothing there to see, there is no, the breath has no shape, no color. So then this is how you don't need to use your eyes to do so. Pay attention to the sensation at the tip of your nose or at the movement of the air. So this is how you should pay attention. So try to feel the breath, or the movement of the air. And mindfully, tell in-breath. When you feel the in-breath, tell in-breath. When you feel the out-breath, tell out-breath. So when thoughts or feelings distract you, ignore them. So, and come back to the sensation of the breath. So then try again to bring your mind towards the sensation of the breath. And mental note, in breath, out breath. So now, after the Buddha explained how to observe the breath mindfully with in breath, out breath, so he is going to explain it's called the second step. Then he says, when one breathes in long, one understands I breathe in long. Now, the Buddha tries to make us see more details regarding the breath. It's the same breath, but now we want to see more details. In the first step is to see grossly. Now, the second step, you want to see more details, to see whether the breath is long or short. So for long in breath, so that is, we have to be mindful, that is long in breath. And then when one breathes out long, one understands I breathe out long. For long out breath, one should become mindful, that is a long out breath. Here's the Pāli text for those who want to check the Pāli. So, and then again, when you, so in your case, when you breathe in long, understand I breathe in long. For long in breath, you mental not long in breath. So when you breathe out long, understand I breathe out long. For long out breath, you mental not long out breath. Now, what means long here? It is long time duration. So therefore, you have to check your breath, what is long. Now, I will give you an example to the difference between short and long. Short time and long time. Short means you just feel the breath in your nose, like a small touch. So then that is very short period because the breath comes and goes very fast. So, but if it continues sometime, it means it takes certain time for the breath to continue and then it stops, that is long. You can mentally not long breath. So that is how it is about the time. It's not about long does not mean inches or centimeters. So it means the time. So then the Buddha is going to explain also to mention this also. When one breathes in short, one understands I breathe in short. For short in breath, one should become mindful of that. So when one breathes out short, one understands I breathe out short. For short out breath, one should become mindful of that. Here's a Pāli text for those who want to check the Pāli. So therefore now, again, when you breathe in short, understand I breathe in short. For short in breath, mental not short in breath. For when you breathe out short, understand I breathe out short. For short out breath, you mental not short out breath. Short it is means short time duration. It is just, you just feel the breath slightly and the time is very short. If that is the case, you mentally not short in breath. In this case, we don't try to make the breath short or long. So we just observe the natural flow of the breath and we try to see how, to see more details. In the first step, we just saw whether we breathe in, out, breathing out. So in the second step, we try to see more details. So then whether our breath is long or short. And that's why you can do it for 2-3 minutes. Practice this and see whether your breath is short, long or short. So then, and then the Buddha explains now the third step, which is very crucial. So then he says, one trains thus, I shall breathe in, experience the whole breath body. Then for now, we try to see more details here, to see the whole in-breath. What it means is, now in the first step, we see in-breath, out-breath, but sometimes we don't understand the whole breath, means we don't understand the beginning, end of the breath. So sometimes we see only the beginning, sometimes the end, but don't see the whole breath. We see only part of the breath. Here, what the Buddha says is to try to see the whole breath from the beginning to the end. So then he says also, untrains thus, I shall breathe out, experience the whole breath body. So the whole out breath, you mentally note, is called whole out breath. So now this is the Pāli text for those who want to check the Pāli. But here there is one word we have to explain because some people misinterpreted it. So the word is body. The Buddha was the word body, and the Pali text, in the Pali text, is kaya. So some people will think kaya means here our real body, which is with our legs and hands and head and shoulders and so forth. So and then I call they're wondering why the Buddha says here the body. So in order to explain this, we'll devote little time for you to understand that body means here the breath body is not our legs and hands. So any parts of our body, it is metaphorically said like that. Now this meaning of the meaning of the whole body, we're going to explain now, because the Buddha gives this in Ānāpānasati Sutta. He gives the meaning what means body in this context. So therefore now the definition of kaya, which is in the Pali text, which means body, in this context is given by the Buddha thus. He says, I say that this is a certain body, kaya, among the bodies, namely the in-breath and out-breath. This is the Pali text, those who want to check the Pali and also the Sutta. So now what means body here is actually the in-breath and out-breath. So therefore, Sabbakaya means in this context, the whole bodily process of the in-breath and out-breath, and kaya, body, is used in a metaphorical sense. So even in English, we use the word body in a metaphorical sense. If we say the body of English literature, we mean the whole collection of the English literature. If we say the body of water in this country, we say the whole collection of water in this country. It means the rivers, the lakes, and everything. So this is a metaphorical sense. Something similar here, the Buddha uses his body as the process of the in-breath and out-breath. That's why he calls it a body. It's a collection, it's a bulk. So it is said so because the meditator at this step begins to lose the perception of the physical body and starts to perceive the whole breath as a body, namely as a bulk or mass of air. Now here you can see it's called animation. For example, if with the meditator breathes in and breathes out, after some time he observes the breath, the perception of the body slowly becomes less and less, and what remains in front is only the breath. Now, this breath, it's called the meditator, understands that the whole process of the breath going in and out, and he loses the perception of the body, the physical body with the hands and the head. So only the breath remains in front of him. So this is called losing the perception of the physical body and perceiving the whole body as a body, namely as a bulk or mass of air. So this is how the Buddha uses this word body as a metaphorical sense. We should not take it our physical body, but the whole bulk of mass of the in-breath and out-breath. So you also now try to experience the whole in-breath at the tip of your nose. So, and when you see the whole in-breath, you mental note whole in-breath. So, and try to experience the whole out-breath at the tip of your nose. So then when you see the, feel the whole out-breath, you mental note whole out-breath. So in order to have the sense of the whole out-breath, not part of it. So therefore now what the Buddha wants us to say is to see the whole process of the breath, not part of it. So in the first step, we see only in-breath, out-breath, in-breath, out-breath, but we don't exactly know when the breath begins, when it stops. So we see only part of it. Now the Buddha wants to say us to see more details, to see the whole process, not to see part of it, from the beginning to the end. So now the whole breath body, Sabbakaya means in this context, to give attention to the Parimukha, in the same, this is touching point when the breath touching the nostrils, and then to see the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. So this is the meaning whole breath. If you see only the beginning, you see part of the breath. If you see the middle, you see part of the breath. If you see the end, you see part of the breath. But if you see the beginning, middle, and end, then you can see the whole breath. So, and this is, this observation can be done at the touching point when the breath touches the nostrils. You can feel the breath. So when the air enters, so strikes the nostrils at the beginning. When it continues striking the nostril, the touching point is the middle. When it stops touching, touching the touching point, that is the end. So in the same way, when the air comes out of the body, it touches the touching point, the nostrils. That is the beginning. When it continues, touching the nostrils, that is the middle. When it stops touching the nostrils, that is the end. Here, we're going to give an example with a violin player. Here, you can see the eyes of this violin player is directed where? Are directed towards the touching point where the bow touches the chords. So his attention is there. He does not give attention to the end of the upper part of the bow or to the lower part of the bow. Because in order to produce the music, it is a touching point where he can have to concentrate in order to produce his music. So therefore, now something similar happens with the meditator. For example, if the meditator has to give attention, he does not give attention to the breaths going inside the body or to the breaths going outside the body, but he gives attention to the touching point. So that is where he can see the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. So this is how you must know that we don't follow inside the body, outside the body, but the touching point is very important to identify the breath. So therefore now, after explaining what means whole breath, we explain now what is part of the breath. Now, if the meditator sees in the touching point only the beginning, he sees part of the breath. If he sees the middle is part of the breath, if he sees the end is part of the breath, if he sees the beginning, middle is part of the breath, if he sees the middle and end is part of the breath, if he sees the beginning and end is part of the breath. So, but if he sees the beginning, middle and end of the breath, that is whole breath. So this is how you can also start with the beginning and end of the breath, of the in-breath. So therefore now when the air strikes the nostrils, you mental note beginning. When it stops striking the nostrils, that is the end. You can, therefore you mental note beginning, end. So that is one way how to observe the breath, beginning of the breath, in breath and end of the breath. Again, so you can start with, for the out breath, you can start with beginning, end of the out breath. So, and you mental note beginning, end for the out breath. So when the breath goes outside, you can feel that it goes out, that is the beginning. When it stops going out, you mental note end. So later on, of course, you can also try to see the beginning, middle, and end of the in-breath, and mental note beginning and of the in-breath. And also you can try to see the beginning, middle, and end of the out-breath, and mental note beginning, middle, end. So this is the third step. Now, I have to mention that we use these words for the mind to get trained. Once the mind becomes calm and it can follow the breath, you don't need to use these words. So this mental noting is actually for you to start observing the breath. So after the mind becomes familiar and it knows what it has to observe, you can skip these words. So then you try to feel the whole breath, to sense it, to experience it. And only occasionally, if the mind is wandering, you can use this word, so in order to bring the mind back. So then now, after the Buddha explained the third step, he's going now to explain the fourth step. So he says, One trends thus, tranquilizing the bodily process of breath, I shall breathe in. One trends thus, tranquilizing the bodily process of breath, I shall breathe out. So this means that even though the process of breath may become tranquil, calm, quiet, serene, and relaxing, one should not stop watching it, but continue paying attention to the in and out breath. Because some meditators, if the mind becomes calm, they think, oh, now how nice, and they stop. What the Buddha tries to tell us, to say it is to train to pay attention to the in and out breath. So now, one word the Buddha uses here, he says bodily process, coming the bodily process. And the Pāli text is kaya sankhara. Here again, we see the word kaya, and that's called, which means body. And some meditators get confused. They don't, that's called, they misinterpret it. So they think it is the kaya means our body, maybe the chest, the belly, or any other parts of the body. So in order to clarify this, we're going to see the definition of kaya sankhara, which is given in the suttas thus. So what is kaya in this context? Why is kaya sankhara? Now here it is a definition. In breath and out breath are a bodily process, kaya sankharo. These states are bodily, are bound up with the body. That is why in breath and out breath are a bodily process. So here is the Pāli text for those who want to check the Pāli. Here, kaya sankhara or bodily process is nothing else. It is the in breath and out breath. So it is not our hands and legs, a chest and belly. So it is the in and out breaths. Again, here you can see that kaya does not mean anything else except the in breaths and out breaths. So there is another canonical book which explains a little bit more details. It says, what is the bodily process? Kaya sankharo. Long in breaths, long out breaths. Short in breaths, short out breaths are bodily. These states are bound up with the body and are bodily processes. So in this way, we can understand clearly that kaya sankhara is nothing else. This body is actually metaphorically said for the process. Yes, this is called for the process of in breath and out breath. Therefore, one should continue watching the natural bodily process of the in and out breath at parimukha, even though it may become tranquil, quiet, calm, quiet, serene, and relaxing. All right. Now, these are actually basically 3 steps here. The first step, the in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. You can do it for about 5 minutes till they might become familiar with it. Then you can go to the second step to see whether your breath is long or short. The natural breath. Now, we don't try to make the breath short or long. We try to observe the natural breath, and you may not long in breath, long out breath. You can just tell long in, long out. So, or short in, short out, depending on how your breath is. So you can do this for 2-3 minutes for the mind to become familiar with it. And then try to go now to the third step to see the whole breath from the beginning to the end. And you may not beginning, end for the in breath, for the out breath. So the practice is simple. Now we spend some time to explain this in order to remove any doubts, because we give references the way the Buddha explains or from the suttas. This is how the practice, as called the explanation, takes longer time. Otherwise, we can explain this within few minutes, and this is not complicated. So there are only 3 steps basically, which you can use these words in order to concentrate the mind. So then, if somebody has some restless thoughts, for example, his mind is very restless, he thinks different things while meditating because certain events happen in his life, so which prevent him to concentrate, and many distracting thoughts, we're going to explain one small method, which is called counting method. This is against distracting thoughts or feelings. So this is not to confuse you, but you can use it as emergency case when the mind is restless, there are distracting thoughts or feelings. So usually we ignore any thoughts while practicing Ānāpānasati. We don't pay attention to them. We don't try to push them away. But even so, if their mind is too restless, they are distracting thoughts, some people find it difficult to concentrate. Then they can use this counting method. Therefore, if there are sometimes distracting thoughts or feelings, you may try the following counting method to focus the mind to the breath. Now, this counting method is to count from 1 to 5. It is very simple. So, this is the first counting method. We would call it for the in-breath, out breath, you mental note 1. So at the end of the out breath, you put number 1. So for the in-breath, out breath, you mental note 2. And then for the in-breath, out breath, you mental note 3. So for the in-breath, out breath, you mental note 4. And then for the in-breath, out breath, you mental note 5. You go up to 5 and you can start up to 1. You can use this method, just counting, because there is a sequence of numbers. You try to remember the sequence of numbers also. So you don't forget the breaths. So if you forget a number, you start again from 1. So then after you use this method, the mind becomes calm. You can return to the first method we have explained. So to see the beginning and middle of the breath, to see the beginning end of the breath, which is more detailed method in order to attain concentration. So therefore now this is just temporary method if the mind is very restless. Otherwise you just waste time because the mind doesn't get concentrated. If you use this method, then there is a possibility for you to attain concentration. So then now this method in summary is like that. For the in-breath, out-breath, you mental note 1. For the in-breath, out-breath, you mental note 2. For the in-breath and out-breath, you mental note 3. For the in-breath, out-breath, you mental note 4. For the in-out-breath, you mental note 5. So you go up to 5 and come back to 1. So that is how, because of the sequence of numbers, it is easy to remember the breath. So then this is another summary of the same method. In-breath, out-breath 1. It is first round. In breath, out breath 2. The second round. In breath, out breath 3. Third round. In breath, out breath 4. Fourth round. In breath, out breath 5. Fifth round. So then you can continue doing so. So till the mind becomes calm, and then you stop counting and go to the first method we have explained. So then that is one counting method. So then if, however, the distracting thoughts or feelings persist and are tough, you may try the following tougher counting method by repeating the same number of the in and out, in breath and out breath. So that for some people, they scroll all through, you tell them to count like that. They have difficulty because the mind is still jumping. So he's wandering. Then you can use this method. That is also not to confuse you, but for emergency case. So when the mind is restless. So therefore, this second counting method is for the in-breath, you mental note 1. For the out-breath, you mental note 2. Excuse me, 1. Now, because you repeat the number 2 times, so it's difficult to forget the number. Some people, they forget the number. So then, but if you tell the number twice for the in-breath and out-breath, then you can remember the number better. Again, for the in-breath, you mental note 2. For the out-breath, you mental note 2. For the out-breath, for the in-breath, you mental note 3. For the out-breath, you mental note 3. For the in-breath, you mental note 4. For the out-breath, you mental note 4. For the in-breath, you mental note 5. For the out-breath, you mental note 5. You go up to 5 and start again from 1. Now, in summary, this method means in-breath, you mental note 1. Out-breath, you mental note 1. For the in-breath, you mental note 2. For the out-breath, you mental note 2. For the in-breath, you mental note 3. For the out-breath, you mental note 3. For the in-breath, you mental note 4. For the out-breath, you mental note 4. And for the in-breath, you mental note 5. For the out-breath, you mental note 5. So therefore, the number you put to the in-breath, you put also to the out-breath. is just the repetition of the same number for the in-breath and out-breath. So if you miss a number, you can start again from 1. So another way to see the summary of this method is in-breath 1, out-breath 1 is the first round, in-breath 2, out-breath 2 is the second round, in-breath 3, out-breath 3 is the third round, in-breath 4, out-breath 4 is the fourth round, and in-breath 5, out-breath is the fifth round. So when the mind comes down, you may return to experience the whole breath. So then, because this counting method is also a gross way how you can concentrate on the breath. So while if you see the whole breath is more detailed way. So now, then you can return to the whole breath if the mind becomes calm and try to see the beginning, middle, and end of the in and out breath. And mental note, beginning, middle, end. So that is, if you can't see the beginning, try to see the end. If you can't see the end, try to see the beginning. Slowly, slowly, you are able to see also the middle. So that is an effort to see more details. Therefore, now the whole process is to go from the gross to the more subtle. So we observe the same breath, but we try to see more details. The more details we see, it is like zooming in and try to see more details. So then if one continues so, the concentration increases and the sign of concentration may appear. Now we're going to explain about the sign of concentration. So some meditators, after some time of good concentration, they might get this sign of concentration. Now, the sign of concentration is actually a certain light which appears in front of the meditator of a deeper, it's called samadhi. And because some people, they doubt whether the Buddha ever taught about the sign, nimitta, the word nimitta especially. So we're going to spend some time to give some references to this in regard to this. And you can see that the word nimitta, or samadhi nimitta and samatha nimitta are words the Buddha used. Samadhi nimitta, this word occurs about 25 times in the Sutta Pitaka and refers to various samatha and vipassana meditations depending on the context. And samatha nimitta, this word occurs about 11 times in the Sutta Pitaka and refers to samatha meditation. Here there is one sutta who give us a reference what the Buddha says. There is the sign of serenity meditation, samatha nimitta. Frequently given careful attention to it is the nutriment for the enlightenment factor of concentration. So therefore now in the commentaries explain the sign of serenity. It is serenity itself as well as the object. That is a patibhaga nimitta or counterpart sign. Now, according to the commentaries, we have 3 types of signs. So then, this we are going to explain a little bit, so for a while. The first sign is called preparatory sign, which is called parikama nimitta. And then the second is called acquired sign, which is called uggaha nimitta. And the third is called counterpart sign, which is called patibhaga nimitta. The meanings of nimitta is a sign, a mark, an image, mental image, reflects image. So what is the preparatory sign, parikama nimitta? It is this what the Buddha says, establishing mindfulness at parimukha. So why? Because the meditator has to have a place where to start observing the breath. This place is actually the starting point, the preparatory sign, because that is where the breath touches the nostrils. So, and one knows when the breath goes in, when the breath goes out. This touching point is actually a kind of sign, an indication how the breath moves in and breathes out. That is how one prepares oneself in order to concentrate the mind. After concentration is reached, now the acquired sign appears, which is called uggaha nimitta. This is the still unsteady image which arises when the mind has reached a high degree of concentration. This is a kind of light the meditator may see. So, and then after words, the counterpart may appear, which is called Patibhaga nimitta. This is an entirely clear and immovable image arising at a much higher degree of concentration. So that is soon after this image arises, the stage of access concentration, upachara samadhi, is reached. So this is how this light appears. It becomes more intense the more the concentration becomes strong. This is a product of concentration. It is nothing mysterious. We are going to explain how this light appears later. So now, if the access concentration is reached, that means one is close to the jhana. If he continues, then the attainment of the third jhana is reached, which is called the full absorption into the light. Therefore, there is a moment when the mind sinks into the light, gets fully absorbed into the light. That is where the first jhana, sometimes it's translated full absorption, sometimes it's translated ecstasy. It's not the ordinary ecstasy, you know, it's actually very, it's called very sublime, it's called bliss, which one can experience. So then we can see that there are 5 factors of the third jhana. As called, this is the applied thought. That means the meditator, he has only one thought regarding the object of meditation. There are no other thoughts when the mind, his mind goes. There is a sustained thought which sustains his thought to the object of meditation. That's why he can attain concentration. If his thought is not sustained and he jumps from object to object, he can't attain concentration. Therefore, sustained thought is very important. And there is rapture, piti, and also bliss, sukha, and also unpointedness of the mind, means oneness of the mind, which can be seen in the meditator's mind. Now, in short, this is what happens in the meditator's mind when the jhana is as called reached. Applied thought is there regarding the object of Patibhaga nimitta, and then sustained thought, and also rapture, bliss, and unpointedness of the mind. So now regarding this, the bright sign on the light, it varies depending on the meditator. For some, it is a bright light such as a morning star or a bright ruby, a gemstone or a bright pearl. For others, it is like a moon or a sun. Why it is the difference between meditators? It is because of different perceptions. Now, I will give an example here. So, for example, if a ray of light is called falls on a prisma, so you can see here that the light is called becomes like a rainbow, is a rainbow effect. It splits in different colors. So it depends from which angle you see, you can see different colors. So the same way now the meditators, if they see from different angles, that means with different perceptions, they can see different colors. This is how this can be explained why some meditators can see different colors regarding this nimitta. So the light is the product of intense mental concentration, as we have told. And we know the mind has no light, has no shape, but it can produce light. Therefore, what the mind produces is just photons. So therefore, the light is just material properties, which are photons, that appear in the meditator's mind due to the condensation of electromagnetic waves that exist in our bodies. So we must know that we have electromagnetism in our body. When the mind becomes very concentrated, it can produce this kind of light. Here it is the electromagnetic spectrum. You can see here the waves. If they become very condensed, then can produce the rainbow effect. There is a ray of light. If it becomes very condensed, how it can produce different colors, different it's called shapes of color. So, and this is something similar that happens in the meditator's mind. It is actually the condensation of electromagnetic waves because of mental concentration. That's why the meditator can see this light appearing in front of him. Now that we have electromagnetism in our body, it has been verified scientifically. Here you can see the Curlian photography that our body emits electromagnetic waves. This is not in our body also. There is also plants, they have it. So therefore now this is a physical properties, natural phenomena which our body and plants have. It is nothing specially. And what is basically recorded in Kirlian photography are the very natural phenomena in our body, such as pressure, electric grounding, humidity, and temperature. Changes in humidity, which sometimes reflect changes in emotions, barometric pressure, and electric voltage, among many others, will produce different auras. So now regarding this slide, as I told you, it is nothing mystical. But there are misinterpretations of this slide by mystics or some meditators. So, and we're going to explain that is nothing mysterious, nothing super normal or something called metaphysical. So some they misinterpret this light, that this is the immortal pure light of infinite consciousness. They tell different names, mysterious names like that. They tell this is cosmic light, although this comes from inside our body. It does not come from cosmos, from the universe. It comes from our body. So these are misinterpretations. They tell it sometimes cosmic consciousness or the cosmic energy, the God and God's grace, the union of man with the divine, enlightenment, the infinite ego, the soul, the spirit, Brahma or his grace, Bodhisattva or his grace. Many names have been given for this light. The reason is that people who have not the means to analyze this light, they give all the misinterpretations. Therefore now one can see this light by, if one practices vipassana meditation especially, one can see this light is nothing else. It does not come anything from outside. It is actually the electromagnetic waves which can be condensed due to the concentration the meditator exercises, and this light appears as called as light in front of the meditator. It is nothing strange. So, and this light comes like a friend to help the meditator to see more details on the breath. So then it is like a torch. You have a torch in front of you and you can see the breath so clearly. Now, if you go in the dark room, so you can hardly see what the chair is, what the table is. It's called, if there are any furniture there, you can't see because it's dark. But if you have a torch, how easy to navigate inside the room. You can see almost everything. So because of the torch. So then something similar happens with the meditator. If he closes his eyes, sometimes he can feel the breath, sometimes he cannot feel. So, but after the concentration increases and this light appears, he can see the breath so clearly. So in this light comes like a friend to help the meditator. But if the meditator looks at this light disappears. The reason is because the concentration drops. The concentration becomes weak. So from this we can understand that this light is a product of concentration. So if the concentration is no more there, the light also disappears. So the more the concentration becomes stronger, there also the light becomes stronger. And it covers the whole face. And then there is a moment when the mind sinks into this light, that is the third jhana. All right, now this is just a brief explanation regarding how one can reach up to the third jhana. One can, of course, progress and go to the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana. With Ānāpānasati, one can attain 4 jhanas. So that is one way how the Buddha uses meditation. So he expresses his his praise for this meditation because it is an easy way how to attain a very high kind of concentration. This concentration later one can use it for vipassana meditation because vipassana meditation is used to analyze mental immaterial phenomena. And therefore now those who have this kind of concentration, it's very easy to practice vipassana. So then now after explaining this about what's called the mindfulness of breath meditation, So there are, of course, people who might have still problem concentrating on the breath. The reason is that they are emotionally involved for so many other things. Like, for example, they have very negative emotion in their life, like anger, hate. They have experiences, very bad experiences in their life, which make them to generate a lot of anger, hate, stress, sorrow, sometimes fear, and so forth. There are so strong emotions so that they have difficulty concentrating on the breath. So the Buddha teaches another method of meditation in order to overcome these strong negative emotions. That is the mindfulness of friendliness, metta meditation. We are going to explain this meditation also, especially if you, for example, encounter this kind of difficulties concentrating on the breath. So you can use this meditation in order to overcome these negative emotions. And then when the mind becomes calm, you can return back to the breath. Or you can use metta meditation and so forth as a daily practice. So to overcome these negative emotions. First of all, before starting to explain the practice of metta meditation, we are going to explain the word metta. Metta comes from mitta, which is Sanskrit means mitra, which means friend. Its real meaning is the disposition of a friend, mitta bhavo, that is friendliness. It is a friendly goodwill and wish for the welfare and happiness of all, wishing, may all beings be well and safe, may they be happy. Sabbe satta bhavantu sukhitata. This comes from the Karaniyametta Sutta. Many Buddhists recite this Karaniyametta Sutta. It's called as a daily practice. Sometimes in many viharas they use this. So therefore, that is kind of metta. It is like good wishes for all beings. So, and beings including yourself, because you are a being. So if you are unhappy, how you can wish with other people unhappy? So if you have negatively charged, so how you can wish other people do some positive thoughts? Therefore, it includes yourself. You have to wish also yourself something positive. So therefore now, and we can see that what is achieved with metta, it is, the Buddha says, is anger can be abandoned by the development of friendliness of metta. Hence, the Buddha says, it is escape from anger, ill will, hate. This is the escape from anger, ill will, hate, the liberation of the mind by friendliness, metta citta vimutti. So therefore now, it is anger, ill will, hate are all negative emotions which can steal the peace of your mind. So any other relative emotions regarding anger also are included in this. Again, the Buddha says, cultivate the meditation on friendliness, metta. By cultivating the meditation of friendliness, anger disappears. Again, he says, there is the liberation of the mind by friendliness, frequently giving wise attention to it. This is the denourishing of the arising of anger that has not yet arisen, and of the increase and strengthening of anger that has already arisen. So therefore now we understand that is actually, if you want to liberate your mind from this negative emotion of anger, hate, and so forth, hatred, or even relative emotions like jealousy. Jealousy is also a form of anger. Fear is a form of anger. Stress is a form of anger. So therefore, then it is a time to practice metta meditation. Because if the mind is bombarded, very heavy with these strong emotions, it's difficult to concentrate on the breath. So then one has to get rid of these strong emotions, then the mind becomes calm, and then one can easily practice mindfulness of breathing. One more thing we want to explain that it's called, sometimes metta is translated as love. We want to explain that metta does not mean love. This is a very common translation for metta meditation or loving kindness. So, and we can see that the Pāli word for love is not metta, but is prema and piya. In Sanskrit is prem and priya, and in Hindi is prem and piyar. So these are related languages because Pāli is actually what's called in the same family like Sanskrit and Hindi. So then, therefore now, if you want, for example, to learn how to say love in Hindi, here are these words you can use. So Piyar or Prem, so these are the words, something similar also in Pali language. Here there is nothing, the metta does not come. Even in Sanskrit, which is called metta means maitri, it is also not appearing under the heading of love. So love implies a strong emotion of affection and attachment, which in turn can bring sorrow and fear if that love is not fulfilled. That's why the Buddha says, from love, pema, piya, springs sorrow, from love springs fear. For him who is wholly free from love, there is no sorrow, hence then fear. So the same he says about craving, tanha, the origin of existential suffering, dukkha samudaya, making it understand that love is a form of craving. So thus he states,
everyone off there.
From craving springs sorrow, from craving springs fear. For him who is wholly free from craving, there is no sorrow, hence then fear.
Actually, I listened before.
However, instead of love,
the same one, maybe a bit different.
Who knows?
Just somebody is talking. Can you be quiet? Love, he urges his disciples to develop other noble qualities towards oneself and others, such as Mettā, which literally means friendliness or a friendly disposition, Karuna, compassion, Mudita, sympathetic joy, and Upekkha, equanimity. So now we're going to explain the Mettā meditation and serenity meditation, Samatha Bhavana. And we can see that this is actually the escape and mental freedom from animosity, hostility, ill feeling, antagonism, and enmity, malice, resentment, bitterness, antipathy, ill will, anger or hate, fear, sorrow, jealousy, stress, anything we call negative emotions. Therefore, if you have anger in your mind, if you have hate in your mind, if you have fear in your mind, if you have sorrow in your mind, if you are jealous in your mind, if you have stress in your mind, that is a time when you can practice metta meditation. In order to do so, you have to actually take yourself as an object and do so. Because metta meditation is not recitation, is you need an object. So now, for example, if you have anger, you can wish yourself, may I be without anger. This is how you can start. You have to take yourself as an object. Without object, this metta meditation is not going to succeed. So in order to concentrate, so you need an object. So you know that, you know the emotion, you try to identify the emotion you have. For example, if there is anger, you can call it anger, and then you wish, may I be without anger. So if you wish, may I be without anger, in that time, you don't try to push the anger away of yourself. You don't try to fight with it. You don't try to suppress it. It is only to withdraw our mind, to step back and wish yourself maybe without anger. So in that case, now you don't nourish that anger. You denourish it. So how you nourish the anger? If you get involved with that, if you get dragged along, then you nourish that anger. But if we withdraw your mind, we step back and wish may I be without anger, what you actually do it is you denourish that anger. You don't give him the nourishment for it to continue. So after some time, you can see this anger having no more nourishment, have no more fuel to continue. It will drop, it will go away. So this is how you have to continue doing this again and again, because if anger is accumulated for a long time in you, it's not going to go away instantly. You have to go repeating, may I be without anger. Try to throw all the attention toward your body, because sometimes the whole body gets affected, the whole nervous system gets affected if anger is within us. So therefore, try all your attention to draw all your attention to your body, to yourself, to your presence, and wish yourself may be without anger. Do it again and again. After some time, you can see this anger having no more nourishment. So it will drop away, it will go away. So if hate is in your mind, you can wish maybe without hate. If memories come, when you remember yourself how you got angry and so forth, how you get you have the feeling of hate towards now it's called somebody or some situation and so forth. So you can take that memories in your mind and wish yourself again maybe without anger, without hate. If fear come in your mind, you wish maybe without fear. If sorrow come in your mind, you can wish maybe without sorrow. If jealousy comes in your mind, you can wish maybe without jealousy. If stress comes in your mind, you may wish maybe without stress. So therefore, these are the words which I give you as just an example. What are the most common negative emotions which people experience? You can use your own language to express it, or any other word you think it makes sense for you. It is very relevant to the negative emotions you feel, and then you wish yourself maybe without this emotion, negative emotion. You have to put the name of it. So then try to be as more precise as possible to identify what kind this emotion is, how it occupies the mind, and wish yourself maybe without this negative emotion. So therefore now, this is the first step, how to get rid of negative emotions. If these negative emotions subside, the mind becomes calm, then you can go to the next step to wish yourself something positive. So, because this meditation is not only to get rid of negative emotions, but also to arouse positive emotions in us. And that is the case, you can wish yourself something very positive, something very positive, which is may I be happy. So this is what people actually want to be happy in life. Who wants to be unhappy? So then, so this is what most people wish. I don't know if you know somebody who gets up in the morning and wishes, may I be unhappy. Subconsciously, people, they want happiness in life. This is whatever effort they do, it's actually for happiness. So then, therefore, this is something positive they think they can achieve in life. So, but in this case, what we try to do, it is just to wish that very urge which people have to be happy. Therefore, you can wish also yourself, may I be happy. You can direct your attention to yourself, to your presence. Take yourself as an object and wish yourself, may I be happy again and again. If memories come of yourself, which you have seen yourself in the past, how you have been happy with your friends, with your family members, and so forth. And so then you can take again yourself as an object, wish yourself, may I be happy. Either in the present moment or past moments. So take yourself as an object, wish yourself, may I be happy. You can see that you can arouse a very, very positive thought. These very positive thoughts can arise also positive emotions. So the more positive emotions you arouse, the more the mind becomes strong. So, and negative thoughts are difficult to enter to your mind. You are able to resist as called towards negative thoughts. Anger will not come to your mind easily, and stress will not come to your mind easily. Fear does not come in your mind easily, because you have aroused very strong positive emotions, like his happiness within you. So if this happiness lasts, achieved to a certain degree, you can wish other people also to be happy by telling, may he or she be happy, or may they be happy, regarding the context. And if you, for example, remember people, your friends, your family members, relatives, and so forth, mother and father, so they come to your mind, you wish them also to be happy. Therefore, so then, and we can see the effect is like a tennis ball. If you take a tennis ball, you hit it on the wall, this tennis ball will come back to you. In the same way, if you wish other people to be happy, you also will feel happy. And happiness means that it depends not only on us, depends on other people also. Because we are living together with other people, and our happiness depends on other people also. So therefore now, if we are in good mood with other people, what's called, we wish them to something positive, we react towards them in a very positive way, then we can live with these people in harmony. Where there are no conflicts, there are no, what's called, any situations which can misunderstandings come up, and we can live also happily with other people if we wish them to be happy, to wish them very positive thoughts. So you become more sensitive to the feelings of other people, and we know how to react. So not to avoid conflict with other people. So that is now happiness means also avoidance of conflict. So we must know that's called that happiness is very called something which can generate it in our mind, and we have the chance to do so. So therefore now this meditation is helpful, metta meditation is helpful to remove these negative emotions. You can use it as a daily practice, as called, but you can use it also occasionally whenever these negative emotions come. So, and then when the mind becomes calm, you can see that the breath becomes very easy to follow if there are these negative emotions are no more there. So this is a brief explanation regarding these two kinds of meditations.